Welcome to the Jew York Times. On today's episode, I do a merch review of the t-shirt that I bought off yay.com. The quality, pretty good. The symbolism, terrible. Also unoriginal. We'll get to that. Also, Donald Trump has some pretty high-level ideas about what to do with Gaza going forward. And, of course, we will be talking about the Super Bowl, all of the Jewish stuff that happened, all of the response to it. And before we get started with all of that, I got to give a big old mazel tov out there to Howie Roseman, who is the GM for the Philadelphia Eagles, who has been largely credited with the rebuild out there. And then also a big old mazel tov to Jeffrey Lurie, the owner of the team, who took home the Lombardi Trophy. All of those stories and more, plus fun little thing at the end that actually we're going to leave as a second part of this episode. Before we go all of that, and before we do all of that, though, I of course have to say hello. As always, I'm joined by my Guyisha roommate, Rich. Rich, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm doing good. Solid. I got some tea and I got some trail mix here. So
tea and trail mix.
Tea and trail mix.
You know, we keep you off camera. Once again, I say this every week so that we can all... Rich is kept off camera strategically because if I say something that could be deemed offensive by the community, I don't want to ruin Rich's career.
And my voice is distorted. What would I sound like this week?
This week you sound actually like Adam Sandler's character in 8 Crazy Nights. Was that your impression of the Jewish people?
No, that's my impression. That's my impression of your impression. So it's called double satire.
Thank you so much. That's double mirroring. You learn anything about the Jews this week? How was your week? What'd you learn?
What did I learn about the Jews this week? Congrats to, I hate Philly, but congrats to Laurie and company.
Yeah. This big story, of course, aside from the Super Bowl, was the halftime show where Kendrick Lamar publicly called Drake a pedophile, which is bananas, absolutely bananas. I think a lot of people after the halftime show went to Twitter and they were like, "Oh, this is the worst halftime show of all time. Oh, this is I can't believe that they let this happen during the halftime show. It was boring. We didn't know any of the songs. You know, Kendrick, the performance was lacking. There should have been visually more going on." He called Drake a pedophile. I mean, what else do you want from a Super Bowl halftime show? I think every Super Bowl halftime show from here on out, one person from the Epstein list should get revealed. Yeah. I think every year, that should be next year, OK Go, they should do it. And I think OK Go, they have a whole big Rube Goldberg thing set up. And then boom, at the end, you're just like, Wilmer Valderrama on the Epstein Island, something like that.
When I think of Super Bowl halftime show, I will now think of Deposition, which I feel is pretty. I feel it fits the moment.
Samuel L. Jackson was great. I thought Samuel L. Jackson was great.
He's great.
Samuel L. Jackson was the through line. The through line, if you didn't watch this, is that basically the backstory here is that Kendrick and Drake have been having a beef for a while. It got kind of taken up a bit.
Yeah, just a bit.
It was like a beef where Drake was like, "I'm better than you at rapping," and then Kendrick's like, "I'm better at you than rapping."
So to be fair, I don't even think Drake said that he's better than.
Drake
he just
was
put him in the same
Drake.
Oh my boy, Kendrick, me, and
Kendrick was like,
J.
"Go
Cole.
fuck yourself, you pedophile."
Yeah.
It was so. Drake was like, there's a list. Me, J. Cole, and Kendrick. We're the 3 best boys out there. And then Kendrick was like, "Did you fuck that girl from Stranger Things?" And the beef immediately, got super, super heightened out there. It's also funny because Drake clearly lost this, and he's releasing, I think, an album on Valentine's Day. Yeah. If I'm him, I just move away. I end it. The only way that this could end and that Drake can win is if he just murders Kendrick Lamar. There's what else do you want him to do? I mean, he went on the Super Bowl. There's no way for Drake to win this. There's nothing cooler. Even if next year Drake would beat if next year Drake does the Super Bowl and he gets up to the halftime show and goes, "Kendrick is a pedophile," he could show video of Kendrick doing pedophile stuff. It would not hit the same way.
It wouldn't hit the same.
Everyone would be like, "This is a remix on an original. You're just trying to be Kendrick again."
To quote Sheryl Crow,
quote
is she Jewish? Sheryl Crow?
She is not Jewish. Drake is Jewish. And you know what? We don't take it. I am totally cool with people not saying Drake is Jewish. I think that I don't want to claim him.
You don't want to claim him?
No, he's a pedophile.
Oh, right. Yeah,
We shouldn't be claiming Drake.
He's also Canadian.
He's a Canadian pedophile.
God.
Anyways, first big. Who knows if any of that lends up back in here?
Is there a special term? Is there a special term for Jewish Canadians? Is there like a
the Frozen Chosen? Of course.
Did you just come up with that?
That's the Frozen Chosen, baby. Those are the people up in Toronto freezing their gatkes off.
Yeah, that's good.
No, we don't have to claim Drake at all. But I will say that beef done. I think that I've compared this rightfully, and this is why we keep Rich off camera, because I'm about to say what I'm going to say. Drake and Kendrick are Gaza and Israel. Or no, Drake and Kendrick are Hamas and Israel, okay? This is what it is. I'll say Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th. What I would say was a very lopsided, a war they couldn't win. It was based on ego. They thought they had some energy going, and then they ran up against Israel, and Israel demolished them. It's a very one-sided victory. Like no one in their right mind would come out of what's happened in Israel or Gaza since the past year and said like, no, Hamas won. Yeah, this was a clear W for Hamas. Same thing here. Kendrick obliterated Drake. Drake shouldn't have gotten involved in this thing to begin with. It was ego. It was lack of foresight. And now Donald Trump is going to have to decide how that region plays out, okay?
Oh, my God.
There it is. Donald Trump should have to decide. Donald Trump should invite Kendrick to the White House the same way that like a sports team gets to go to the White House if they win the championship.
Yeah.
He should have and give him the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Wow, yeah. What is he? What's the plan for Gaza for Trump?
Oh boy, we are going to get into that in a little bit.
Gotcha.
Let me tell you, I am not a fan, and anyone who is a fan is a piece of shit. Okay, here we go. First off, Kanye. The website run by Kanye, Ye.com, which had been selling shirts featuring a swastika, was offline Tuesday morning after the e-commerce platform said that the site had violated its rules. This is a Shopify account, which, by the way, Kanye running this thing off a Shopify account is absolutely hilarious. That would be like finding out Epstein was doing his accounting using Quicken. Like, how did Shopify not take a second to see what Kanye was selling on that thing? How did they at any point think like, oh, good. Oh, guys, I have great news. Kanye just registered a domain with us. Should we check to see what he's selling? No, it's Kanye, man. Let him sell it. What's the worst that he could sell? A plain white t-shirt with a swastika on it?
Oh my God.
That's what it was, by the way. It was just a plain white t-shirt with the swastika on it. Boring. Absolutely boring. If you're gonna do something overtly anti-Semitic like that, take the forethought and do something cooler. I could have figured out something cooler than just a swastika on a white shirt. That's boring.
What?
That seems like you would... That swastika on the white shirt, it seems like that's what they used to give out in Germany in the 40s during corporate team events. Like, if you had a corporate outing in 1938 Berlin, you were given a free shirt that said like, hey, sponsored by Deutsche Bank on the back, and there was a swastika on the front. That's what this thing looked like. It was free merch.
Zone of interest energy.
Yes, zone of interest, zone of Pinterest.
I was about to say,
there it
zone
is.
of Pinterest. You found it. You found it.
Am I wrong for wanting a little bit more effort in my overt anti-Semitism here? Put it through a couple rounds of edits.
Thank you.
He should have what would have hit harder? He should have just done his full face, pencil of his face, and then just a swastika on the forehead.
Oh, little Charles Manson.
Little Charles Manson.
Yeah.
That would have sold better than just. I've got to know how much of it sold. I bought 10.
You did.
Yeah, I'm hoarding them. I'm going to sell them off in a couple of weeks with my Yeezys.
Has there been any more like development from this?
Yeah, of course. So Shopify took down the store on Tuesday morning, right?
Right.
Keep in mind, and this is true because this is how the days of the week work, it aired on Sunday fucking night. So they let it up Sunday night, Monday. I think the actual physical thing was probably taken down over the week because I did try to look at this. I did try to buy a couple more this morning, and I couldn't. It wasn't up anymore.
Oh my God.
Shopify said in a statement to NBC News, all merchants are responsible for following the rules of our platform. The merchant did not engage in authentic commerce practices and violated our terms, so we removed them from Shopify. I'm calling big old bullshit on this. Shopify knew. There's no way Shopify didn't know. I'm sorry, but there's absolutely zero way that Shopify knew that they had a Kanye account up there and didn't think that he was going to put up some goofy shit. Honestly, he should have just sold a shirt that said "The Jews" and then a swastika above it. That would have been a little bit better. This should have a boring swastika on it. There's nothing here.
Have there been any reports about numbers sold?
No.
Okay.
The thing is Shopify going to continue? Like, if I'm Shopify, I'm like, I'm not fulfilling this. I like to think that there's some like drop ship company somewhere that just got this order in, and they're like, we got good news and we got bad news. We sold 50,000 pieces today. Unfortunately, guys, at the drop shipping company, it's Kanye's T-shirt. We got the Kanye account. It's gonna sell tons and do that. But yeah, it was insane, absolutely insane. I don't buy Shopify's bullshit here at all. Kanye, I mean, this follows like a whole week of him being weird with the Jews. At one point, he tweeted, "I love Hitler. Now what, bitches?" And which on my LinkedIn, I'm throwing that up there.
Wow.
And then he just wrote, "I'm a Nazi." Like, you know. And after going on like a bunch of rants, he eventually got kicked off of Twitter. And this was the end of his Twitter thing. You ready for this? He went on Twitter. He said, my Twitter reach has been limited, so I'm not allowed to trend during the Super Bowl. I am setting up a Discord channel on my website. Welcome to America. And then he made, it's about the culture. Why are we letting Taylor Swift be seen on TV singing a song about taking a black man down and accusing of things that can take a black man down for life? And then he wrote, I'm logging out of Twitter. I appreciate Elon for allowing me to vent. Which even he's trying to curry favor with this guy.
I'm really amazed.
I appreciate Elon for allowing me to vent. It has been very cathartic to use the world as a sounding board.
Oh my God.
It was like an ayahuasca trip. Love all you who gave me energy and attention till we connect again. I think he typoed that. Good afternoon and good night. Here's what I will say. All this is disgusting. The one part I do relate to this as, you ever have a good tweet? Because that is like an ayahuasca trip.
Is.
I totally get that. You ready? I one time sent one. Yeah. It said, call me Shaquille O'Neal because I'm about to shoot some poops. When I sent that, it was like an ayahuasca trip because I knew that I had overcome a wall in comedy that very few people,
I was about to say,
had ever experienced.
I had a viral tweet once.
What was your viral tweet?
My viral tweet was during the pandemic, and it was everyone says goodbye, leaving a Zoom meeting like a Muppet. So and
that's funny. That's good.
Now that's good. And then I think
that's like ayahuasca.
Who played Matilda? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that lady.
The lady.
We all kind of know for some reason.
Then she found it, and then she blew it up. So
the two tweets that I've had that have gone viral. Yeah. One was in Time Out New York, and it was LaGuardia is a bodega with some airplanes. And since then, they've actually improved LaGuardia tremendously. And I like to think that they saw my tweet and thought it is time to add a Panera.
Yeah.
And then it's time to add that water show and all that stuff. So the website was taken down. Another thing that he said, quote, I spent all the money for the commercial on these new teeth. The rapper said, showing off diamond encrusted teeth. Once again, I had to shoot it on the iPhone. Go to Yeezy.com. So here's the thing. If he's got handlers, fucking handle him. If he doesn't have handlers, then fucking he can't just be able to exist. Also, let's talk about this element. Why the absolute fuck would the Super Bowl take a commercial from him without checking every single ounce of it? Holy shit. What a shit show. If I'm the Super Bowl, why wouldn't I check to see? It makes no sense. There's a million lawyers that check every single element of this. You want to tell me the Jewish lawyers involved in the Super Bowl didn't have an inkling that something weird was going to happen with Kanye when he decided to take out airspace? He ran a commercial for a swastika branded T-shirt during the Super Bowl, and no one thought to check. No one was like, you know what? We got an interesting order. It's It's from Kanye West LLC. We love the money. Do you guys want to look at what's on the website? No? Okay. And then it went up. Anyways.
Are there any famous
Philadelphia 4, Chiefs 22.
Back after this. Back in the bad. Are there any famous times where the Super Bowl or otherwise like denied advertising to something?
I'm sure there. First of all, I'm sure that there's been issues with like nudity or sexual euphemism.
Sure, but what about? I mean, I'm even thinking of because I mean they air a fair amount of like religious.
Yeah,
stuff.
I don't think they do. Here's the thing: I don't think they do politics. I mean, there's a reason why Kamala didn't advertise during last year, or whoever.
Yeah.
Like Trump didn't advertise during last year. Oh, that was another thing, by the way. Trump going to the Super Bowl, first time a president has ever done that. Why? Why has a president not done that before? If I'm the president, I'm going every year. If I'm the president, I am canceling off the Oscars. I'm going to the Oscars for sure. I'm going to the Met Gala and I'm going to the Super Bowl. And then I'm also going to the Vegas Grand Prix.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm just going to ba. I'm going to event. I'm like, we're treating this like a regular work thing. 9 to 5, Monday to Wednesday. Sorry, Monday to the Friday night. America, you got me. I'm doing hybrid. If I'm president, I'm doing a hybrid work schedule out here. Monday to Friday, you got me. 9 to 5. Weekends, I'm going to a different event. Every week, I'm going March Madness. I'm going to the Stanley Cup Finals. I'm going to NBA Finals. I'm going to championship game. I'm going to AFC, NFC games.
Yeah.
I'm having them. I'm using the thing. If let's say AFC championship is in Buffalo in the morning, at 4:00, and then I got the 8:00, in what's it called in let's say Arizona.
Yeah.
We're holding the game until I get there. Right. I'm getting into a bunch of Ospreys and we're going to the game. Anyways. Talking about Trump, it's been a weird couple of days for Israel. Last week, over the weekend, there were a couple hostages that were released. Their physical condition was very disturbing. They had clearly been held in an area in captivity that with limited resources. They came back very gaunt. Over the past couple of months, there has been, even years, the past year, I will say, there has been this ongoing narrative amongst a bunch of anti-Israel people about how there was a possibility that Hamas was treating the hostages well, that the hostages were leaving and they were looking good. Some of them, I saw people making fat jokes about some of the women that had been kept there. They were saying, oh, the hostage, Hamas treated them well, all of this stuff. The images this weekend of the hostages being released and doing their weird press conferences that Hamas is making them do, which, by the way, every time they do a hostage release, it's like when Luka gets signed to the Mavericks. Like, Hamas has been just putting them in the town square, having them sign papers or like release papers on a stage and then like waving to everyone. The images this weekend of people that look, and I will just say this bluntly, Holocaust level thin, shaved head, gaunt, up there on the stage, surrounded by Hamas members, signing the documents being released. It was one of the more jarring moments. And, the hostage release videos have been rare moments of levity over the past year where we've been watching people come home. They're embracing, being even just the idea of them getting into those, not the UN cars, the Red Cross cars or whatever, has been a very awesome, very uplifting moment. This was a very, very different situation, seeing their condition. That has unfortunately changed some of the metrics in a lot of people's minds. Also, within all of this, we've had Donald Trump. Now, God damn it. I can't even say this with a straight face anymore. So I want to say one thing first. Yeah. I think that Donald Trump comes up with this. I've never done coke before. But his ideas sound like the ideas I would come up with if I was on coke. Yeah. All 3 a.m, I'm just like, we got to buy Greenland. Aside from that. So, Trump, last week, we talked on the podcast, said that he was planning on having America buy Gaza and start to build and sweep out and whatever. There is a big issue with unexploded ordinances. It's not exactly safe to be in that area. So he basically, the White House took a step back and said that what he actually meant was that America would be there to clean it up and then to try to figure out what is next. Unfortunately, Trump then did come back and say no, Egypt, Jordan, they have to accept these Palestinians. He wants to displace the Palestinians. He wants to kick them out and to put something, to build buildings and stuff like that. Will they have the right of return? Literally, no. Trump added that Trump said during an interview that Palestinians would not have a right of return to Gaza. They would not because, quote, they're going to have much better housing elsewhere. But I'm talking about building a permanent place for them. So we all know that the end of this is that if he succeeds and they're pushed out, the places that are being built are not going to be good. It's going to be UN tents in Egypt in famously, excruciatingly unlivable circumstances. He's not exactly moving them into the Four Seasons. He's going to move them into the shitty parts of Jordan. When Trump made these comments, it forced Hamas to start to renege on their promises. And it is now pushing the hostage release situation going forward into a precarious question mark. Trump said, quote, if all the hostages... so Hamas paused the hostage releases after Trump said this stuff. And Trump responded by saying, quote, if all the hostages aren't returned by Saturday at 12 o'clock, I think it's an appropriate time. I would say cancel it and all bets are off and let hell break out. Trump told reporters in D.C. He also threatened to, quote, withhold aid from Egypt and Jordan if they don't agree to take in Gaza Palestinians. Now, I also want to just add on this other element that happened today, and then we'll talk about all of this, where it was announced that the oldest hostage had actually died. Shalom Mansour was killed 16 months ago, but his body was held in Israel. It was unclear if he was alive or not, and over the week it was announced that he was not alive. And that story was one of those gut punches where you're kind of hoping for someone to be alive. There's a lot of the bring them home posters everywhere, and then the wristbands and all this stuff with people's names. A lot of people had, invested emotion, had emotional investment in Shalom coming home. Unfortunately, he passed away. I do not think that Trump is working, and this isn't like a hot take or anything, but Trump's not working for our best interests here. I think that when he goes out there and says, oh, we're going to end 12 o'clock Saturday and no more, or we call the hostage swap off, that's insane. And that's going to lead in every day. We know that there are alive hostages still in Gaza. For him to go out there and just blabber off and say stuff like, oh, if it's not done by 12 on Saturday, then, we're going to continue. That will get these hostages killed. And I think that there does need to be someone from the right-wing Jewish community who says something, because it's one thing if he's saying crazy stuff about Greenland, or I'm going to change the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Oh, we're calling it Mount McKinley. We're not gonna call it, Denali or something like that. Or turn the spigots back on in LA, which is like not a thing that was all happening. Those don't have any consequences at all. This has consequences. Out of all of the stuff, the USAID stuff, that a court-appointed officer is handling. There's courts out there that are handling this stuff. Doge, he's running up against legal problems with Doge. He's not dealing with secure entities. He's dealing with Hamas. Hamas is viewing this stuff. Hamas is looking for any and all reasons to continue this conflict going, and they will. And this is the stuff that enrages the groups of people that are still going to have to live there. You can't displace 2 million people. It's not physically possible to displace 2 million people. There's another funny story part to this. Mahmoud Abbas, who is in charge of the Palestinian Authority, huge news, absolutely huge news. He has announced that he will end Palestinian Authority payments to the families of terrorists. The Palestinian Authority. Well, did you know that, by the way, that the PA and some of the other like terrorist groups, they will pay your family out if you're a terrorist. If you go and you do something, if there's different Patreon levels in a lot of ways. It's like subscribing to Last Podcast on the Left. If you just go and you try to stab someone and they don't die, your family probably gets like $50 a month. A Patreon,
so they're on retainer.
They're on familial retainer for raising a terrorist.
Oh my God.
But if you let's say you explode yourself, your family's making bank off that. You're making money off of that. Palestinian Authority will no longer pay stipends to the families of convicted terrorists and other presidents, and this is very funny, in a gesture of goodwill to Donald Trump.
Oh my God.
See, and I say all of that because something about Trump is resonating with all these terrorist groups. It's crazy. Yeah. Where Trump, say whatever you want about Trump. The hostage negotiation got pushed forward because of him. He speaks their language. And the fact that Abbas, they've been trying to get rid of this terrorist payment thing for fucking years. Abbas trying to curry favor with Donald Trump does show that there are some people in the Palestinian world that do see a future where maybe they do get some of that sweet, sweet America cashola. Mm-hmm. But until then, they don't. Palestinian Authority, they're no longer paying out the payments. Long-standing program determined the size of the stipend based on the length of the prisoner's sentence, meaning that those who were convicted of the worst offenses often received the largest stipends, while Palestinians often view the thousands of prisoners with admiration as a front line of resistance against Israel. The payment program had been maligned for years by Israeli and American officials. So they're ending that government grant program.
Wow.
It was basically the Fannie Mae of Gaza. It was PPP loans.
Yeah.
It was TTT loans.
TTT?
Terrorist.
Oh,
Torah.
No.
But that just goes to the fact, that just shows how fucked up that entire region is, because like every side has the worst people acting on their behalf. I honest to God thought that the PA had stopped this terrorist payment processing system. Do you think they do it on Stripe or Ramp?
Oh my God.
Do you think that when you're a terrorist and the PA is paying you out, you have to like send in your your T-83, not your T-83.
W-9.
You have to send in a W-9.
Yeah.
If you're registering as a terrorist, you send in your W-9 and then you get like an email from ramp.com. They're like, oh, your payment's processing.
Getting onboarded.
Yeah, you have to get on. Welcome to terrorism. Can you, and you can't, I bet that'd be kind of funny if you get kicked out of terrorism for sexually harassing an intern.
That's fair.
They're like, we're terrorists, we're not monsters. Anyways, moving right along. Jewish day schools may be getting publicly funded, which is a huge thing. You know the whole issue with Jewish day schools and the price of Jewish day schools?
No.
Price of Jewish day school, private Jewish day school, is like insane. $30,000, $50,000,
right,
$70,000. So you're paying as much as you're paying to go to Harvard if you want to go to like Ramaz. What do you think Ramaz's tuition is? Ramaz's tuition.
I imagine it's probably on par with like other, private schools in New York.
Ramaz is like specifically more. I like MTA, which is that upper tuition is 31,000. Yeah. 31,000, 50,000, kind of, yeah. That's what I'm seeing off of this, like, just Google. Jewish day school education is crazy. Absolutely crazy. It's tens of thousands a year. If you have a bunch of kids, and Jews love having a bunch of kids, you're going to spend like $150,000 a year on tuition in some cases. And that's always been a question of should the government be funding this, especially because a lot of the Orthodox communities, they do not send their kids to public school because of the devil that roams throughout the hallways. It's always been a thing, in Brooklyn specifically. On the reverse side of this is that the state does have to take an interest in, dictating what these schools are teaching, because if you have a bunch of Hasidic kids who are going to yeshiva, the yeshiva is not going to teach them, English. And they're not going to teach them math or science or whatever. They're definitely going to teach them history, that Goyish stuff. So you do need to have like some government overwatch is what I would say with that. It may be getting publicly funded. After Oklahoma approved a request by the Catholic Church to open a charter school in 2023, lawsuits quickly followed. Courts at both the state and federal levels ruled against the church, finding that a publicly funded school promoting religion would be unconstitutional. Now, the U.S. Supreme Court has taken up a case signaling that the justices are willing to reconsider overturning a longstanding legal precedent protecting separation of church and state if the court allows St. Isidore of the Seville Catholic Virtual School to become the first government-funded religious school in the country. The consequences for other religious schools, including Jewish day schools, could be far-reaching. The school's backers argue that the charter schools should be allowed to teach religion because they are not technically government institutions. They also contend that as long as the state permits charter schools, and nearly all states do, excluding any religious ones violates the Constitution of religious freedom. Some Jewish supporters of St. Isidore believe the case could unlock public funding nationwide. They could lower the cost for parents, most of them Orthodox, who already send their children to private Jewish religious schools. For anyone else, it would make Jewish education a dramatically more accessible option. Less than 5% of non-Orthodox Jewish children attend Jewish day schools, according to estimates. So, we could finally be getting a lessening of the Jewish day school burden, which is a lot. It's too much. The Jewish rent is too damn high out there. I gotta be honest, I think that it has to be a both ways thing. If we are making these religious schools, if we're giving more government money to these religious schools, and I think especially the ones in Borough Park and Williamsburg, they have to teach English better. There has to be more of the government stepping in. That is my personal take here. But, I do think that there should be, some of this government. But that being said, the Betsy DeVos structure of just making all, schools private, which will definitely, fuck up Harlem and Camden and Flint and everywhere else that has historically been marginalized in this. Compton school district is way different than Beverly Hills' school district. And that's going to kind of fuck them up, you know? But I want to see the Bochrim in Williamsburg finally learn a little bit about science.
What degree of oversight is there of
none
these, right?
I mean, they say it's there. I feel like the New York Times every couple of years does
a
takedown article where they're like, you'll never believe. Right? Remember the Cars for Kids commercials?
Yeah.
I remember that one time there was a thing about the Cars for Kids commercial. Like Seven on Your Side did a thing where they're just like, we took down Cars for Kids. Like and they went to do like a sting operation on Cars for Kids. They walk into the Cars for Kids warehouse, whatever. And it's a bunch of Hasidic women there. And we all knew it was a scam. And it was just so funny. They were just like, can you believe this was a scam? And I'm like, yeah, of course. Also, kids can't drive.
That's right.
Of course it's a scam.
That's insane.
Of course it's a scam. Because kids, the charity is, let's give a bunch of 5-year-olds Toyota Camrys. You know who can't drive Toyota Camrys? 5-year-olds.
5-year-olds.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's all of the Jewish stories this week. Rich, what'd you think? You got anything else?
Woof. That's interesting. I am curious about moving forward with the Jewish day schools and just the idea of there being any level of funding for any religiously backed schools. I understand you're opening a bit of a Pandora's box by allowing one, and then
I just don't believe the government's going to have an ability. The government can barely deal with the public schools.
You're right. Yeah.
How are they going to police the religious schools? They don't do the public schools correctly.
Yeah, I don't know, because then it's like, I mean, I think up until 8th grade, there still has to be some level of state testing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. That's, who knows?
Yeah.
And I don't know with Trump's.
I think he should be in charge of the education system.
He should.
I think honestly that the education system should be. I was gonna say
Art of the Deal.
Day one, they give everyone a copy of Art of the Deal, and then you're reading it kind of like Bible.
But
you're doing commentary on the Art of the Deal. There's a Gemara situation where you're like, oh, what did he mean when he said never back down, never surrender?
Instead of, so if we go by that logic, the Art of the Deal is basically the Bible or the Torah, then what happens during the Trump bar mitzvah?
We're gonna find out.
Yeah.
And Jared Kushner's
Jared
kids.
Kushner, yeah.
I mean, that's going to be happening soon.
It'll be called a Kushner.
Yeah. It was so funny, by the way. I saw Ivanka on a website, on a video. Do you know what Lashon Hara is?
No.
It just means evil talk. You can't be saying, you can't be talking shit.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
Lashon Hara just means. You can't be talking shit.
Can't be talking shit.
I saw Ivanka Trump on a podcast, and she literally just went, and it was like a Jewish podcast clip, and she just goes, you know, there's a concept in Judaism called Lashon Hara, where you're supposed to be watching, you know, what you say and avoiding toxic messaging to kids. And I make sure to teach my kids that. And I was like, are you out of your fucking mind, woman? Are you out of your goddamn mind?
Oh,
She's
my
like,
God.
Oh, all of a sudden, Ivanka Trump's the biggest Lashon Hara advocate ever. Absolutely insane. That has been the Jew York Times. We come in every week. Make sure to like, subscribe. Give us that 5-star of David review. That's what I've been calling this thing.
That's right.
Rich, you got anything else you want to say?
Barstool.
Barstool.